Hello, everybody. This is Joseph Hasek, and welcome to the Fired Up Network. Welcome to the flagship show of the Fired Up Network, Fired Up Live. This is Joseph Hasek. As mentioned, this week my family had a tragedy. The oldest brother of my mother, Dr. Joe Gabai, passed away. Joe Gabai is survived by his wife, his daughter, and two out of her three sons. Yes, Joe Gabai was a doctor. He was loved in our community. He made late night doctor house call visits. He was the patriarch of the Gabai family. He is sadly missed by all. He is the one who took his family from Spain, Melilla, Spain, and brought him to Canada. Thank you. Brought my mother here. And for that, the Basic family will be always indebted to you. This show is dedicated to Dr. Joe Gabai, who passed away last Wednesday night. On this show, we have Courtney Riddell, the Renaissance Mama, female empowerment movement, part of Fired Up Network. We also have John Freeman Nelson of OSG Sports on CFL No Yards Week 7 preview. The coach, Carmen Asako, and a lady soccer player previewing the Women's World Cup that began earlier on today in Australia and New Zealand, and Canada plays tonight at 10:30. Also, Inside the Game, the video game show, and myself on the On the Mat Wrestling Show with a preview of Ring of Honor's pay-per-view happening tomorrow at 8 p.m. Again, this show is dedicated to the memory of my uncle, the oldest brother of my mother, Dr. Joe Gabai.
Hi, friends. I'm Courtney. I'm a performer, speaker, and a writer. I'm a mama to 3 crazy boys and a super sweet dog. I decided 12 years ago that I needed to create a business that worked for me instead of me working for it. I'm a multi-passionate entrepreneur who may be considered a serial entrepreneur by some, but then I realized that all of my businesses focused on connection, community, and creating an incredible experience. I cannot wait to share with you how to make small but mighty changes in your life to affect your overall well-being and create a life and business you want to get up in the morning for. That's right, my friends. I am the Renaissance Mama. Hi friends, it's me, Courtney, the Renaissance Mama, and I want to thank you so much for taking the time to watch my show. And if you haven't done so already, I want to ask you a favor. If there's any way you could hop on to wherever you're listening to this podcast, if you're listening, and give me a review. I would love to hear what you're thinking and what you think of the show. So my friends, I've been thinking about this topic quite a bit lately, and it really kind of struck me the other day. I've been doing this exercise where at the beginning of the week, I write down all the things I feel like I have to do. I get them out of my head, I get them on paper, and it really has been a great exercise to just like throw it on out there, and I don't have to worry about it. I don't think I'm going to miss anything. But the next part of the exercise is, if you're very keen, is you're going to take that list of all the things you have to do and then look at how long each of those things may take to do. Then you look at your schedule for the week and see, do the 2 times add up? Are you kind of over scheduling yourself, or can you get all those things done? And what I was finding for myself in particular is I could not get it done. Didn't matter how many strategies or tips or this or that I had, I was putting way too much on my plate. And as a parent and as an entrepreneur, I think that's a really easy thing to do. As a parent, I think I'm always trying to just look after my kids and have them have the best life they could possibly have and have them get everything they want. I don't want them to be spoiled, but I treat them pretty darn good. I'll give you an example. My middle child, who's almost 12, every morning was asking me to make his breakfast. Oh, you don't think that seems too long? But no, he was asking me to make cereal. Come on. He can pour the cereal. He can pour the milk. I knew that. He knew that. But it was like this routine we just had. And he would ask and I would just do it. And that's fine. But when you have so many other things happening, you can't do it all. You can't get it done. And then I was feeling bad because I couldn't get it done. And I was feeling like there's not enough hours in the day. But what I really realized I need to do is I need to start sharing the responsibility in my home and sharing the responsibility in my growing business. So that's what we're going to chat about today is how do you know when it's time to share responsibility? How do you feel about a lot of things. I can learn quickly and do it, and I just do it. It's easier. I don't have to explain it to somebody. I don't have to pay for it. I just do it. But what I was noticing is some of the tasks that I was doing pretty regularly still took me a really long time. Not only did it take me a long time, but I also didn't get any joy out of doing the tasks. And what I was finding is I was spending all this effort, getting frustrated. It was going to be a big deal when really I could spend a chunk of money and buy my time back. Get a professional who knew what they were doing to do it in less time, do it better, and actually get the results I want. I was trying myself to do all of the things, and I can't do all of the things. I was slipping a little bit on my customer service. I was slipping on the things I promised to my clients. I was slipping on all the things that I just don't want to do. That's not how I want to run my business. So I knew it was time to start sharing the responsibility. Now we talked about how you know when it's time. Now let's talk about how we feel about that. And I don't think this is talked about that often. Like usually I go right into like, here's the problem, here's the solution, here's the strategy, let's go. But I feel like I need to talk a little bit with you guys in case you're feeling the same thing. So when it came to my family, how do I feel about sharing the responsibility? Well, I think it goes back to my own childhood. At a very young age, I was living with my mom and my brother, and my mom worked pretty long hours. She did what she did to, give us the home we needed, give us all the stuff we needed. She took good care of us. But at a pretty young age, I was given the responsibility of looking after my brother. Sometimes after school, I would, make dinner or start dinner, tidy up, do all these little things. So I actually moved out of my house earlier than most of my friends. It was something I was interested in doing. I was taking some time off before I went to post-secondary school, but I decided to move out on my own, which I didn't think was that big of a deal, but it actually was a huge deal to all my friends. They couldn't believe that I was the first one, but then they also could believe it because they knew how independent I was. I was independent from a very, very young age. I was doing things that not all 11 and 12-year-olds were doing, and I was fine with it. But as a parent, I think I've done the opposite. I think I've really tried to do so much for my kids because in some ways I may have felt I didn't get that same attention when I was a kid. My mom was busy. She did what she had to do. I've had the privilege, and I know it's a privilege, to work from home for really the whole time I've had kids. I started my businesses. I worked as a contract worker. I've done things to keep myself busy, but I've also made choices so that my kids always have somebody home. Well, not always. Most of the time, 90%, 95% of the time, there's somebody for them to come home to when they come after school. I'm still walking them to and forth back to school. They're too old for that. But it was like in my head, I never had that as a kid. So I've been doing it for my kids. And now, like I said, now I'm doing things that I really don't need to do for them. They need to learn for themselves. We need to figure this out. But that's kind of my why and why I'm feeling it. But now I also feel that I think I've made a bit of a mistake. I think I've done these things for my kids, and I'm nervous that they're, like I said, not going to be able to learn that independence. They're maybe not as mature as they should be at this age. They need to learn these skills. I do not want them going off to school and not knowing how to take care of themselves. So I feel like although I've been trying my very best to take good care of them, I also think it's time to start really giving them that opportunity to have that responsibility. Now, when it comes to my business, a lot of people say their business is their baby, and it's a hard time to kind of let go of things, or it's a hard time to, bring someone else in because it's not their baby, it's your baby. So I completely get that. And I will say I was feeling that for a little bit, but for me, the feeling I get about sharing responsibility when it comes to business, it's all about the time. Like in my head, I think it's going to take me so much longer to explain to somebody how to do something than it would take for me to do it. And that's how I felt for a lot of years. But now that things are growing the way they're growing, and now that things are happening, I just can't do it all. So like I told you earlier, I was doing a task this week that took me, I'm not even kidding, 2 to 3 hours that would have taken a professional probably 5 minutes. So I could have paid that professional whatever their fee was for 5 minutes. Well, I'm sure they'd cost a little bit more than that. But you see what I'm saying? So when you actually break down those tasks that are taking you longer than they should, the tasks you don't like to do, the tasks you know somebody could do better, that's when you know, okay, I've got to give this up. So I knew for me, as much as I thought, oh, this is going to take me a while to, teach somebody, I have come to the conclusion it is definitely worth it. I can do many different things and be so much more productive with that chunk of time rather than spending hours and hours on something that's going to drive me nuts, get me frustrated, and maybe not even get the results I want. Whereas when the professional does it, it's going to be awesome. Okay, so now we've talked about how we know when we need to share that responsibility, how we feel about it. Let's get down on how we are gonna do this. So let's talk home first. The first thing I want you to do when you want to start sharing responsibilities at home is list all the things, all the jobs that you think need to get done in your house. Whether they actually have to or not, that's something totally different. My mother-in-law, I love her, but she is the cleanest person I've ever met in my life. She does jobs around her house that people do once a year. She does weekly. So your definition of what needs to be done and mine might look a little bit different. But I would suggest you start with that list of all the things that need to get done. And then it's time for, I was going to say a team meeting, but family meeting. And let's be honest, a family is like a team. So you want everybody on board. You want them to know what's happening. You want them to see the mega list of all the things that need to get done, and maybe also put those time frames of how long things take to get done. I know for me in my house, when I ask my kids to unload the dishwasher, they go, oh my God, it's like the end of the world. But if here is a list, like unload dishwasher, 5 minutes, and then here's as a list vacuum, like 15, 20 minutes, they're going to be like, "Ooh, you know what? I'll unload that dishwasher. That looks good to me." So make that mega list of all the responsibilities, all the things you think need to get done, the time frame of how long they take to get done, and then chat with your family, chat with your kids, chat with your partners, chat with your people, and let them know why these things need to get done. Because I feel like that's an important step that's often missed when we're teaching kids about responsibility. For me growing up, it was always chores and a chore board. And if I wanted to make money, I had to do a chore. And I've kind of done that same thing with my kids. But as you can see, it hasn't been very successful because when they don't need the money, they don't want to do the chores. So then it doesn't get done. We have tried the allowance thing as well, and it just was like more time consuming for me, more annoying to follow up, a lot of arguments. I was like, not worth it. No. This time we're taking the approach of like, hey, listen, this is our household. These are the things that need to get done. This is how a household runs. We need your help. You need to be in on this. We need you to be part of this team. We need you to be, participating as much as you possibly can. We also gave a very big incentive to our kids. What we said is we want you to have more responsibility. We want you to learn this independence. No longer are you allowed to ask mommy for a billion things that you can do yourself. And I made it very clear, I can help you, but I want you to try it yourself. If it's something you need to learn, I can teach you. I can take the time, we can do that. But if it's something that you can do by yourself, I would like you to try it first. So we said, if you're able to do these things, we are going to reward you with that independence. So with my oldest, we're allowing him to do more things that he wasn't allowed to do before. With my middle and my youngest, we are getting them cell phones that we needed to anyways. I know that's a full other conversation, but to have that cell phone, that means responsibility. That means independence. So you want that? You need to put in this because they both go together, right? So it's really getting down to what these responsibilities are, why they need to happen, and how they will really shape you as a person and how they're skills that you really need to know. I do talk to my oldest all the time thinking like, when I was your age, I did this. I know nobody wants to be that parent, but it happens once in a while. So really getting clear with them on those expectations, how you want things done, checking in, helping out. It's a great place to start. Similar, when you're looking at your business, I once again would make the master list of all the things you think you need to do and the time they take you to do it. And not the time you kind of think they take to do it, the actual time. So for me the other night when I was placing those ads, I would have to say, you know what? Sadly, it took me, 2 hours rather than it could have paid someone for 5 minutes. So really break down all those tasks. Then the next thing I would do, I would highlight the jobs and tasks that you either love, the jobs and tasks that you're really good at, like they're your strengths. Those are the things that light you up. Not necessarily light you up all the time, because I feel like everyone wants to be like, I'm an entrepreneur, I have the passion for this, and then the jobs they don't want to do, they're like, oh my God, I hate this. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying pick the things that you're strong at. Pick the things, yes, that do light you up because you want that, but they might not all light you up. Then I would also highlight the things that you can't stand doing. You know what ones they are without even thinking about it. I'm sure there was something at the tip of your tongue that you're like, oh, I know exactly what that is. So that's what I want you to do. Really break down those tasks, really kind of decide how long they take to do and what would be the first ones you would pass on to someone else. You might not be ready 100% to take that leap or to make that investment, but it's good to know what those things are. And then you can start planning around that. You could take the time to do the research. Okay, well, if I hate accounting, let's say, what would it cost me to hire someone to help me? And I'm sure you know, there's so many options these days. There are virtual assistants. There's a whole bunch of different websites where you can literally hire someone on a contract for a one-off here, one-off there. Why not try it? Make a small investment before you make a huge one. So there's tons of options. I would take the time, do your research on those few jobs that you really hate, and then start planning out from there. Okay, what is it worth? If I have to pay somebody, a few $100s for this, but I can have 5 hours back of time, what would you do with that 5 hours? And I would really break down, imagine the things, imagine how much more business you could bring in, imagine how much you can get done. So really start doing that research and weighing it back and forth of where would I want to spend my money, and then start making a plan on how to make it happen. Now let's go back to that family. You have your mega list. I would highly suggest you give everybody choices. Let's be honest, even in our own work, we want to choose sometimes what we can do. Kids are the same. If you say, hey, you have to do this, nobody wants to do it. If you say, hey, do you want to do this or this? You choose. Now all of a sudden that kid is like, okay, you know what? I chose this. That's my choice. And they feel empowered. They feel strong. They feel like, okay, I want to do this. And that's where that mega list comes of how long the time frame may take to do. Maybe that might change their decision making. Might be a job that they absolutely hate. That might change their decision making. But giving them the choice is such an easy thing to do. And it just really brings them on to okay, I want to do this. Let's do this. Same in your business. I just said you get to choose which of those jobs you want to keep, which of them you don't want to, but you always have the choice. So once again, picking and choosing, I think it's such a strong, easy thing to do. And you can do that with your family and with your business. The next thing you can do with your household or your business really is share some rewards. Like I said, we have talked to our kids this is your responsibility, here's your independence, here's what you're going to get. But I also really take the time a lot of times to just say thank you or compliment them on something they've done, or really just make them feel like they are appreciated. That works with everybody, whether you are an adult, a child, anything. You want to know that when you do something, when you put some time and effort in it, that people are appreciating what you do. So I would say you don't necessarily have to give money, because then you go back to that thing of okay, now I'm giving you money for a job, which is also a great lesson to be learned. Don't get me wrong. But I also think sometimes there's other ways to really just celebrate what they've done and the work they've accomplished. So maybe it is taking someone out for ice cream, or just really thanking them or telling them how much you appreciate them. It's a small gesture, but can go a long way. Then for yourself, for your business, also rewarding yourself when you have taken that time to pass on a responsibility to somebody else, especially if you're like me and you've held on for so long and you've really fought for everything and done everything for yourself. You need to also schedule that time in there to be oh yeah, I did this. Thank you. I deserve it. It's great. Why not spend a little bit time getting a virtual assistant for 5 hours? Maybe that 5 hours you do 4 hours of work and 1 hour of self-care, or whatever you need to make you the best possible you can be. I say give yourself little rewards. So the next thing I think you should do, whether it's your house sharing responsibility or your business, it goes both ways. Start early. Start earlier than you think you need to. I remember when my kids were pretty little and people would ask oh, do you give chores to your kids? And I thought in my head, there's no way my kids would ever do chores. That would be ridiculous, or they're too little, or they're too this. But it's once again just really reiterating that routine, reiterating responsibility, reiterating accomplishments. Like I know friends who, when their kids were small, would have the responsibility of cleaning up after the toys. That's an easy one to do. Then as they get a little bit bigger, it's once again having those conversations of what they can do, how they can do it, chatting with them of what they want to do. I know some friends who kids loved to vacuum. They thought it was a hilarious game. So why not encourage that? And then once again, do those same things of giving them, thanking them, showing them that appreciation, maybe providing a reward, but doesn't have to be. But I would say starting your kiddos early on those responsibilities is not going to harm anybody. Although I told you how at a young age, I felt like I had probably too much responsibility looking back on it, I think there has to be a happy medium. You don't want kids to do absolutely nothing, but you also don't want them to feel burden. So maybe it's just that open communication and checking in on them and really kind of hearing them out, watching them, seeing how they feel when they do these responsible chores or different things like that. But really kind of always keeping those lines of communication open. With your business, and this one's so hard, and I've told you, I waited a long time to start hiring. There are certain projects that I take on and I am wearing so many hats, it's ridiculous. And it's getting to the point that it's growing too big. I can't handle it. I need to bring more people in. So if you ever, think, should I bring someone on? It is time. And just remember, you can start small. You could hire a VA for a few hours a week. You can hire a contract worker for, one-off jobs here and there. And if you start really using your tools, you can start automating things. So whether it's payments or emails, or I have been playing around with AI so much. And I know it's intimidating to a lot of business owners and a lot of people, but I also feel like it is going to change our world. So I'm probably going to do a whole episode on that later, but really starting to explore how you can use some of these tools. I always joke with people when they're like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. I'm like, I'm sure there's an app for that. And 99% of the time there is. And I will tell you, AI has helped me a number of times just get out of my head. It's helped me getting creative. It's helped me creating emails here and there. Like there are so many ways to help people and especially entrepreneurs to take off some of the workload. So I would start looking into that if you haven't already. And if you want me to do an episode on that, let me know, because it is something that is very interesting to me, something that I am loving and learning about every day, and that I think any business owner that's not using it, unfortunately, is going to be like left behind in the dust. Then the last thing I would suggest, if you are thinking, okay, as a business owner, I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready for any of it. I don't have the money. I can't outsource. I would start just creating a plan for when it actually does happen. The number one thing you can do that is not that hard, but will save you time and money and effort in the long run, is creating standard operating procedures for your business. So think of all the tasks you do on the daily, whether it's for myself, filming my podcast, filming my show. So to film my show, I normally, do a write-up of what I want the show to be about. I do show notes. So that's one of the tasks. I would create a whole document, and you could literally do it on like Google Docs, whole document on how I create show notes. That's it. Then I would make a whole document on how I film the show. What lighting do I use? What background? Where's the space I normally use? What do I look for? All those things. Then how do I edit? That would be another full document. Then how do I share it on social media, right? There's so many different things, but standard operating procedures are so great to have, that if someone ever needed to step into your business, if you wanted to hire someone for anything, instead of spending all the hours of training and going through and showing and this and that, you can just say, hey, here's this bunch of documents. Here's what you need. If you want to take it one step further, you can make videos as well. I'm one of those people that are very visual, so I would definitely appreciate a video. But I'll give you an example. I'm working as a project for this summer camp, and the woman who had the position before me had it for 10 years. And it's one of those positions that, very much like an entrepreneur, you do so many things. It's a charity, it's a not-for-profit. There's all these little details you do throughout the whole year. So the year she brought me on, just as a contract worker, she wanted me to spend a year training under her because there were so many things that she did that she didn't have any of it written down. She didn't have how she did anything. She didn't have why she didn't have anything. She didn't have what tools she used. Nothing. And that's the reality for a lot of business owners. We do all the things all the time without even thinking about it. So if there's a way you can create those standard operating procedures, so when it is time to bring someone on, you are ready and you're ready to go. That's just it. I would also highly suggest, if this is something that is something you're considering, I would start making a plan. I would get it on the calendar. I would really, like I said before, go through that master list of the things you want. Start small, but put it on a calendar. Make sure you have a due date of when you want to hire this person, or when you want this to happen, or when, just get it on a calendar and then go backwards from there. Okay, if I plan to in 6 months, what do I need to make that happen? So do that research again. Okay, well, I want to start with just the one task. It's going to cost me this. So 6 months might be too long. Maybe I only need a few weeks. Who knows? Everybody's in different positions with their business. But I would definitely make sure you have that plan in action. Put it on a calendar. Start small and just try. I know it sounds easy and I know it's nerve-wracking, and that's why we talked earlier about how we feel, because I think sometimes that does stop us. So once you really figure out, okay, how do I feel about this? And maybe you do a little journal dump. You know me, that's the only time I journal is when I want to figure something out, that I just put all the words down on a page, how I'm feeling, and see how that makes me feel. And most of the time it makes me feel so much better. And I realize, oh gosh, that's why that's bothering me, because it's really this. So just really start breaking down that plan, really get it to take action, because it will be so beneficial in the long run. And even me, who doesn't want to pay anybody to do anything, I have definitely been seeing how it is growing my business, how it is helping me. Things that would take me so much longer to achieve and succeed, it's happening because I'm getting that help. We cannot do it alone. As business entrepreneurs, as parents, as especially Renaissance mamas who have all the hats on all the time, you cannot do it alone. So you need to start thinking about how you can share that responsibility and when you're going to do it. For your households, I would say just start. That's what we ended up doing. We're still working through it, but it literally got to a point that I can't do it anymore. And it wasn't even me who made the decision, thank goodness, because I don't know if I would have noticed it. I think I was so much in the routine of, these are the things that I do. These are the things that need to get done. I don't have time. I don't want to take time to tell people what to do. I don't want to follow up. I don't want to fight. I just want to at home do the things and get it done. It was my husband who was like, no, our kids need to do more. And it was it just opened my eyes. I was like, you're right. They do need to do more, but not just because I can't handle it. It is because they need to know how to do these things. As parents, we need to give them the opportunities. We need to teach them. We need to check in on them. We sometimes need to correct them. We need to, appreciate them. These are all experiences and opportunities that they need that I was taking away from my kids because I just was too busy to even like let them in. I was too annoyed to be like, okay, you didn't do it right, I'm going to do it. So you do sometimes just have to take a step back and realize that you need to provide them that opportunity as much for them as you need to take away some of that responsibility for you. Well, my friends, I hope you like this episode. I hope you're really thinking about the ways that you could start sharing responsibility in your home and your business. And I would love to hear from you. What is one task that you are going to load off of your plate in your house? And what is one task you are going to load off of that plate in your business? As always, I want to continue this conversation, so you can find me on therenaissancemama.com. You can also find me on Instagram at Courtney Renaissance Mama. I want to chat with you. I want to hear from you. And starting in a few weeks' time, if you do have a kid at home who's bored and in summer, if they're getting a little restless, I have an answer. I'm doing a 5-day challenge. It's going to get up, get creative, get them moving, get them dancing. And I'm sharing some of my very favorite dance exercises, workshops, some singing things, some acting games, just fun, getting kids creative and getting them off their screens. So thank you so much, friends, for watching, listening, whatever way you're consuming the show. And bye for now, friends.
And welcome to the Fired Up Network. Welcome to the flagship show of the Fired Up Network, Fired Up Live, and welcome to CFL No Yards. Yes, with the Hall of Famer John Freeman Nelson. Week 7 already in the Canadian Football League. And you know what, John? We're tonight. It starts off tonight, 8:30. Edmonton, Winnipeg. Winnipeg losing. Edmonton 0-6. We all know Winnipeg's going to win. All right. Let's bypass this game.
All right.
The game we have to talk about because I'm in Toronto and Toronto Hamilton, biggest rivalry in Canadian football. All right. The Argos 4-0 versus Hamilton 2-3 in Steeltown Friday 7:30. And about a month and a half. I can't believe I'm going to say a month and a half. It's Labor Day, and then they're playing again in Hamilton Labor Day. But what do you expect from this contest on Friday?
Oh, I'm looking once again at Toronto. I mean, I think it will legitimately be tighter than folks expect, but I still think that Toronto ends up on top. I mean, yeah, I know that you mentioned the rivalry being what it is. They've Hamilton's won 2 in a row after starting off 0-3. First 4-0 start for the Boatmen in 40 years. Ticats will. They're not gonna have Matthew Schultz at quarterback. He's on the 6-game injured list. So you're going to have a rookie QB probably in Taylor Powell, who's going to be getting the start in relief of Schultz. So I just think that you won't have a book on Taylor Powell, and I think that that'll make it a little tighter than folks think. But I still think the Argos get the 5th win of the year.
And let's, on that note, let's talk about some guy who I like by the name of Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
I like Jim Kelly and I like Chad Kelly. For a guy who's arguably still a rookie, he's coming up big in these games.
Well, but I mean, he's not a rookie in the sense of just out of college or anything like that. I mean, he spent some time on taxi squads and on reserve lists in the National Football League, and was an absolute gunslinger when he was at Ole Miss. So the fact that he's been putting up the numbers on average that he's been putting up, not really a surprise to those that watch Chad Kelly in the SEC. I think that the running game being as complimentary as it has been, the defense clamping down. I mean, right now through the first 4 games of the season for the Argos, you've seen complete performances where, after the first 4 games, I think they'd only averaged like allowing 10 points a game and stuff like that. But you're getting balance offensively. Chad Kelly not afraid to tuck and run when he wants to, or when he absolutely has to. And it's just been electric so far from what we've seen from Toronto.
All right, Saturday at 7 p.m., Saskatchewan 3-2 goes into BC. BC lost to the Argos, but they're looking to rebound 4-1. Who you got in this one?
I'm going to go with the Green Riders in this one because Mason Fine. You want to talk about somebody who really knows We talked about gunslingers with Chad Kelly. I think that the team is going to be motivated after what happened last week. You get the touchdown to take the lead, but of course you've got, I think, 40 seconds left?
Yeah.
And as we all know, that's just a bit too much time to set up a game-winning field goal, and it just was a game-winning field goal. So I think that you're going to have Mason Fine after Trevor Harris fractured his knee. So Mason Fine's going to be in charge. Once again, we talk about not necessarily having book on quarterbacks. They're going to have to go back to look at his time at North Texas with the Mean Green to see what Mason Fine is capable of doing. I think that they're going to sling it around the yard, and it's going to be a tight one. I think that the Green Riders get the win on the road, especially when you can talk to me about Mason Fine from North Texas, Nick Marshall from Rochelle, Georgia, and Wilcox County High School. And you can talk to me about Mario Alford from Greenville High School as well down in Meriwether County. So I have the ties. I'm picking the Green Riders.
And this is why you're wrong. You're picking with your heart and not your head. They're playing in BC. BC got humiliated by the Argos. They had a bye week. And that's why BC has to show up next week. There you go. You're picking with your heart. You know what happens in sports when you pick with your heart? You go 0-4 in the Super Bowl. All right. Now, the last game of the week, Sunday, 7 p.m., Ottawa 2-3 versus Calgary 2-3. Which 2-3 club are you more surprised that they're 2-3?
Oh, Ottawa. I think honestly, I've just always wondered. It's like you're waiting for the engine to turn over with Ottawa, and for some reason it never does. But with Calgary, you got Jake Mayer coming off his best game of the year, and you've got Jeremiah Masoli is gone for the season. So, I think that as Masoli went, so did Ottawa. So I'm going to have to go with Calgary here in this one. So, it's just you're trying to figure out what the quarterback situation is going to be like. Too much upheaval and too much confusion trying to figure things out. I think Ottawa's going to be very disjointed offensively, and I think it's going to be Calgary's.
So that does it for week 7. Now I'm going to ask you this. With all these XFL, USFL, and all that, is anybody talking about football other than the NFL here in, March, April, May, June, July, because in August training camp starts for NFL? Does anybody care about football other than college football and NFL?
Not at the moment. I mean, right now, let me rephrase. I will put a codicil to that paragraph. Unless you're a true football degenerate like me, and those of us in our circle, look, we're trying to find ways to log into CFL Plus. We're trying to find ways to log into CBSSN. And I have converted Jason. Jason adopted the Green Riders. And so I'm going to have to teach him about Ray Elgard and things like that.
Oh, my God.
So
Dave Ridgway, come on. Did you teach him about the Rouge yet?
Dave Ridgway. And so there's going to be folks that it's 6 versus 1 when it comes to putting the ball in the end zone. But I'm going to learn him about his Green Riders, and we'll see if we can get him up to Mosaic at some point just so he can sample a game. But he has fallen for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, rightfully so.
Why?
He was looking for a team, and actually it came down to the fight song. It came down to the fight song for him. So he is absolutely fallen in line with everybody there in Regina as a fan of the Green Riders.
All right, so I'm telling you this right now. Book something for late October, last game of the season, third week in October. Thanksgiving Canada, all right? Thanksgiving Canada's 15th, 18th of October. Book for that, and hopefully I'll talk to God, because I talk to him fairly, regularly. Hopefully there's snow and all that, and he could have the green beer, because there's nothing like going to Saskatchewan, wearing your long johns, and drinking green beer.
Yeah, well, we'll get that all squared away. But first things first, let the man enjoy his new fandom.
All right, and which team are you a fan of in the Canadian Football League?
The Atlantic Schooners.
Yeah, that's going to happen. But when is the question?
I'm staring at right now. As a matter of fact, I look over my head here in the rack that we have the 275 hats available. Over my head that you cannot see, I have my touchdown Atlantic hats and pin from years past. That's what we're staring at here when it comes to the CFL. So I have a touchdown Atlantic hat and pin set above my head in the train track.
So if he wants to go to Saskatchewan, anywhere in the Canadian Football League, where would you go?
Oh, man. See, but the thing is, I've been to Calgary. I've been to Edmonton. I've been to
the Argos, probably.
I've been to Toronto. I've been to Skydome to see something there. Have not been to BC Place.
Montreal?
Have not been. Oh yeah, I've been to Molson. I went to Molson to do a story on Robert Edwards. So I've been to almost half of the stadia already. I think for me, it would end up having to be something like going to Touchdown Atlantic and doing something like that, where I know all of the other venues are there. I'd love to go to Mosaic and see what happens. Just once at the new stadium in Winnipeg, because I remember the old stadium in Winnipeg when it was Tom Clements and was it Rick House? Yeah. So like I said, I'm a junkie. I grew up on the CFL when it was on the 4-letter here in the States. And so I've been to half of the venues, half of the cities already. So for me, I want to go to Mosaic. I want to see what it looks like there. I want to go see what Touchdown Atlantic looks like and see what it looks like there. So for me, I've got a jump start on a lot of different folks when it comes to venues. I mean, I was at the Grey Cup the first time Shania Twain sang in it at Commonwealth Stadium. I was at McMahon for that one there, 2 years earlier. So I've seen half the venues. Give me the venues that are either new or kind of the once in a lifetime or once a season venues for things like that.
And for those of people who don't know, we've got millions of viewers and listeners, and you're in the States. I believe the Canadian Football League is the oldest professional league out there. I think their Argos are 150 years, celebrating 150 years. Yeah. So they, back in the days, John Kangemi, Gil Kennedy, like I'm mentioning old time guys, but again, the Canadian Football
King Kong Mosca,
Angelo King Kong Mosca, come on, all right. So they're Canadian Football League, you got everything NFL, but for me, and I know I'm Canadian, we love the NFL. But CFL is more exciting. I don't know why they throw the ball in the NFL and they make 3 yards a carry. You got 4 times to make 10 yards.
Yeah, well, and what a lot of our friends who are converting are enjoying are the asymmetrical end zones.
Yes,
like at Molson, where it's more like looking at a home plate than anything else, and because they don't have the space because it's inside a track.
Yeah.
And literally, they've had to maximize the space at Molson. So what do? They just kind of carve the end zones out in the corners. By the way, the CFL existed. Rugby football started in the 1860s. The CFL actually is only 65 years old. They started technically in 1958, but rugby football dates back, and the CRFU goes back to like 1860, 1884.
Older than me and you combined. Put it that way.
Correct.
All right. Tell everybody on your corner there. Tell everybody about that fabulous book. And I just had a thought here. What about writing a Canadian Football League book?
How many people have written Canadian Football League books, sir?
3.
Okay. Well, maybe.
No, I seriously, yeah, maybe some people write, but the way you write, you're a Hall of Famer and all that, and you dig in the stories. Some people just write the story, okay, I need to make an easy buck. You dig in the stories.
Probably from what it would be for me, it might be the life of the import. Something like that, where I catch up with Nick and Mario and do stories like that, maybe Chad or something like that. But that would probably be the approach. Right there, book 6, by the way, Noble Strong Lessons in Destiny. Great story about a great family that fought the battle of a lifetime as the patriarch was a high school football coach in a very small town, and they were chasing a title. So Amazon is probably the easiest place to get it. And I do either a John Nelson, there's no H, John Nelson, or Noble's Strong search, and you can grab the book and be a part of a very, very special story. Very, very cool stuff.
And John, you look somewhat tired. Were you up at 1 and 3:30 in the morning?
No, I was not. No, I have been. All right. So here, what I do traditionally is, and Joe knows this, I live off of 4 calendars. Traditionally, this calendar right here is a lot of writing. And hopefully by the end of the week, this calendar has a lot of squiggles as opposed to writing, where I can take this piece of paper, tear it, and throw it away and be ready to go. We're about halfway through this piece of paper, and it's late Wednesday as you and I are talking, or late Thursday as you and I are talking. So, see, I don't even know what day it is. I've lost work days because of having to be like 9 different people this week. So that's where I am.
All right. And by the way, you're going to be a different person tomorrow for the
Yeah, I
soccer show.
I'm gonna write this down.
We're going to hopefully be joined by Carmen Asacco, the coach, and Giancarlo Lino will talk about the Women's World Cup. Is anybody talking in the States about the Women's World Cup?
Oh, yeah. We are on SDH every morning, 12:15, the soccer show. See, I have to write stuff like this down.
Yeah, don't forget that.
Yeah.
And hopefully the time doesn't change,
12:15, the soccer show. So there you go. No, we are talking about it, and we talk about it every morning. And we've had a really cool thing on the morning show on SDH with the eastern coast of Australia being 14 hours ahead. There is the University of Georgia has a communications department, and they had the opportunity to take 17 students and 3 instructors down to Australia to report on the group stage for the World Cup. And as it turned out, Jason Longshore, Jessica Charman, and I have all worked with one of those 17 students doing soccer matches for a Division I school down in the Sun Belt Conference, or the Southern Conference. So he was going, and I'm like, dude, you want to come on the morning show and talk about it when you're in your hotel room at 11 o'clock at night? And he's like, sure. So whenever he's in his hotel room, he crashed the A block this morning at 9:05 with reports on the Australia-Ireland match, and his roommate for the Australia tour was covering Ireland specifically. And so we got both sides of the equation. So we're having World Cup coverage live from Brisbane, Australia so far. We'll see how many other cities are involved by the time we're done with the students from the University of Georgia's Communications Department. Very, very cool stuff.
By the way, the no luck of the Irish today, all right? No luck of the Irish today. And by the way, for people who don't know, you got to check out soccer down here, 9:05 to 11:05 or 11.
11 whenever.
Yeah, every day there. These guys do an amazing job, and he's the Hall of Famer of OSG Sports in Atlanta. He's also on here most all the time. That's John Freeman Nelson. He'll be on here tomorrow. Thanks a lot, John.
Anytime, my friend.
And welcome to the Fired Up Network. Welcome to the flagship show of the Fired Up Network, Fired Up Live. And welcome to the Women's World Cup special update day 1 with the coach. Yes, the coach. Hall of Fame coach, Carmen Asacco. And he brought in a guest because he doesn't cut it now. He doesn't cut it. He's old and everything like that. Carm, I'll give you the pleasure. Introduce our guests.
Well, Anna Karpenko is with the national program right now. Unfortunately, didn't get selected to go to the World Cup. She's currently at Harvard University on a soccer scholarship, playing in League One Ontario for Vaughan Soccer Club. And she was the starting keeper for the U20 national team, and she's been part of the program for a long time. And just an incredible example of what a soccer player, a female soccer player, can achieve if you work hard and you make sure that you dot the I's and cross the T's, and she's also probably one of the best finishers in our team, strikers. But we won't get bad.
She's a goaltender, but a striker.
Back in the day, she used to play half and half.
She used to play
up, score 2 goals, and then go in net to save.
All right, enough of you, Carmen. Nobody wants to listen to you. So, Anna, let me ask you this: you're a goaltender but a striker. Which position do you like to play better? Because you stop the shots and then score.
I mean, this is back when I was like 14, 15. So, I mean, I'm definitely not both nowadays. But the thrill of scoring was super fun. But I'm definitely satisfied with my choice of being a goalkeeper full time.
But she still finds a way to pass the ball to the other team just to feel like she's a striker.
That's what the coach taught you, right? Your coach, Carmen Asacco, taught you.
I learned from the best. Carm goes in net sometimes and does the exact same thing, so he can't talk.
As you know, or maybe you don't know, Carmen was a world famous goaltender. All right, he was a world famous goaltender, and who's a better goaltender, Carm or you?
I mean, very different for sure. Probably Carm.
All right, we
Goalkeeping's
won't
on
touch.
now, Joe. I don't know.
All right, we won't touch on that. Today marked the start of the Women's World Cup in Australia and New Zealand. First of all, I'll go to Carm here. Australia and New Zealand, what is it, 14 hours away? Take us through the transition. It doesn't matter, male, female. Take us through the transition. You usually play either 1 p.m., 2 p.m., maybe 7 p.m. games, and then your body clock, you're playing 14 hours. I think it's 14 hours, 16 hours different. Is there, how much of a transition is there?
I mean, obviously they're accustomed, they're acclimatized to the conditions right now. They've been in Australia for, I want to say, over a month playing, exhibition games, and although we've had issue with budgets, and although we've had issues with friendlies, but I think they've been there enough and long enough to acclimatize to all the whether it's the weather, whether it's the time, whether it's now in Australia it's winter, so all kinds of things that I'm sure they're already accustomed to, and I think they're ready to play. To be honest, I think that they're used to these types of situations.
So, Anna, how about you? You're the player. How much of adjustment is there?
Yeah, I mean, definitely there is a big adjustment, but that's the reason, like Carm said, they've been there for a month. So I guess the first 2 weeks are probably the toughest, but now they're definitely used to it. I think the biggest thing is having Canada, especially having one of the host countries in their group, will be tough. Playing against a home crowd, I think that'll be a big challenge for them.
All right, before we get to the games or that already and a preview of Canada, Carm, I'll start off with you. What do you expect from Team Canada? You're going to say what? Win, right? Win, right? So, what do you honestly expect?
I think yeah, that's the simplest way to put it. They're not a team that won Olympic gold by accident, and I think they're in one of those top 5-6 teams that has an opportunity to win. Obviously, it's kind of falling on the shoulders of our old veteran Christine St. Clair and our young up and coming star Jordan Waitman. So I think there's a contrast there, but they both have to distribute. They both have to contribute to give goals. I think our strength is our goalkeeping and our defending, not only as individuals but as a group. I think they showed that in the Olympics as well, and I think Bev Priestman has really prepared them for that. But I think the first matches are going to be incredibly important. They had some time to play against Nigeria. I think it was 3 times on their tour. So they should be well prepared. But again, you can't take anything for granted because the parity in the women's game is coming quickly. And, you look at Nigeria, they have probably one of the top strikers in the world right now, just signed with Barcelona. So there's a lot of knowns and unknowns, but there's a lot of parity coming through, and their group isn't a walk in the park, that's for sure. And obviously Australia, like Anna said, they're in tough because it's a home crowd, and Sam Kerr is probably one of the best strikers in the world right now. If she's going to be playing against Canada, there's injury questions and all that. But yeah, my expectation is exactly what they did in the World Cup is to compete for a gold medal, compete for a top spot.
All right, so Anna, I don't want to equate it to hockey, but I'm gonna say hockey, ladies hockey, and women's soccer. When you look at championships, you always Canada, America, maybe Sweden, and all that. Is there somebody, a dark horse? I know you're probably gonna say Australia or New Zealand because they're hosting it, but is there a dark horse that can come out of nowhere and really challenge Canada, U.S., Sweden?
That's a tough question. I mean, nothing comes to mind off the top of my head. I mean, I think everyone's going to bring the best in this tournament, and Canada just needs to match that level. And like Carm said, they're very fine-tuned defensively, but, a tie won't win you a gold medal. So they need to be top-notch offensively, for sure.
So for months, Carm touched on it. For months, I would say 6 months. The pay, the play, preseason games, or all this. Can now everything, since you're there, since it starts, is everything gone, or is it still in their back of the mind? Carm, you want to start us off?
Uh, it shouldn't be. It should be. It should be. Let's go to work now. Let's play for each other and let's play for our country. That's what the mentality should be. And for lack of a nicer way of putting this, if they want to use all that stuff as an excuse right now, then they may. But that's not the mentality I believe they will have. That's not the mentality that I don't think any of those players ever shown in the past, and I think that they will adapt better. For your previous question, there's a lot of teams that are like the European Championships. England is a top team. The best football that's played in the world right now are by the Spanish. Does it mean they're going to win? I don't know. But there's a
I
lot
set
of
you up for that, Carm. I set you up for that.
No, I mean, Barcelona dominated the Champions League 2 years ago, lost in the year. So it's going to be it's a new soccer identity in the women's game, and there's so many teams that can do so well. And like you saw with the English, a mix of strength and technique and tactical ability versus the Spanish who are getting to youth finals and winning youth World Cups right now. And then again, you never can count out the Japanese and the emergence of Nigeria and the African nations. They're so excited to watch this. So it's so exciting to watch this that I don't think that there's only the U.S. is obviously going for a three-peat, but I don't think that I think that everyone is kind of on that same level. But if we let variables like what's going on in CSA or what's assumed to be going on in CSA and the issues of parity, look at the Nigerian situation. They've been fighting. They weren't supposed to play against Canada. They were fighting because of the financial issues and the inequalities between the women and the men's. So all this is amazing statements, and they're going to be great political platforms. But when you get on the field, it's not about politics. When you get on the field, it's not about excuses. It's about what you need to do, what you need to prove, what you need to do for yourself and for the country and for the millions and millions of supporters in Canada that will be following every game, even if it is at 3 a.m.
All right. So speak about 3 a.m. I know, Carm, you were up for this. Anna wasn't. She was practicing. New Zealand beating Norway 1-0. Go ahead, Carm.
Yeah, I mean, first win, I believe, in New Zealand in the World Cup. I think they're one of the only nations that have been in every World Cup but haven't managed to win a game. And Norway, has an incredible history in championships, going from the Evan Pellerud days, getting to finals and doing very well in the World Cup. And the highlights that I saw, they looked like the lesser team, the lesser prepared team. And they lacked identity, whereas New Zealand looked, well put together, strong, and again, not necessarily showing their lesser rank than the Norwegians. I thought they deserved the win, and I think that the New Zealanders are just going to grow from this win.
All right, Anna, any thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It could have easily even been 2-0 with the missed PK, but it just shows that how quick the game can change right off the bat in the second half. Off a goal kick, quick 4 passes led to a goal. I think just it shows how you need to be switched on for the full 90 minutes. Even if you are playing well, one attack could lead to a loss. So I think, yeah, like Carm said, I think New Zealand deserved that win, but it just shows that every game, every matchup is going to be a competition for sure.
All right. The second matchup of the day, I'll start off with Anna here. Australia beating Ireland 1-0. The Irish didn't have luck.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think Australia definitely went in knowing they're the stronger side with the home advantage, as I mentioned before. But again, it's just about getting the job done. And they honestly didn't have that many chances, but when it came to it, they finished the PK they got. So, and again, you see another PK, so VAR plays a huge role in this. So we'll see how that influences the events of this tournament.
So I'm going to ask you first. VAR. Are you fed up with VAR? Because I know I look at the coach and he's like, no wonder he has white hair there. All right, like look, all right. But you as the player, are you? And you're the goaltender. So are you fed up, or is it part of the game now, or do you wish there was no VAR?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely annoying when it's in the moment. Every goal is checked, every tackle is checked. And you win some, you lose some, but I think it keeps the game honest, and just as an extra eye for the ref. And at the end of the day, a missed PK could be a game changer for you. So I think it's definitely important to keep the game honest, but definitely is frustrating at times for sure.
All right, Carm, you want to touch on Australia before we preview Canada's first match?
No, I mean, surprisingly, very difficult match for the Australians against an Irish team who, probably qualified against a lot of odds, but a team that's filled with second and first division players in the UK, which is again a reflection of proper leagues, and that's why Canada needs its own women's league. There's a lot of players and what they've done in the women's Prem League, the women's professional league, and even the championship has been amazing. It's been an incredible, in fact, influence on teams like Ireland and teams like Scotland and teams of that ilk, because players are getting to play at a high standard in a professional atmosphere with professional resources. And then that's where the Irish are and the infrastructure is kind of surpassing Canada. We need that pro league. We need to get on side. CSA, Diana Matheson, and everyone else included needs to get on side with all that. And it's just a reason why it shows how an Irish team that's not supposed to even be at a World Cup got into a World Cup, because they're getting players into proper levels of play.
All right, so Canada, Nigeria. I believe today it starts 10:30 p.m. our time. Carm, what do you expect in this one? Canada, like I said, should be, because anything could happen. And Nigeria, where they come, they're the best team from their region. Okay, so people think, oh, it's going to be a cakewalk. Well, it's never a cakewalk. Go ahead, Carm.
Well, we had. We saw them play, I believe, 3 times or 2 times at least. There was one game where they tied 2-2. I mean, one of the top strikers in the world that are playing for Barcelona, like we spoke about, and a very young, incredible goalkeeper playing in, I believe, PSG with some of our own players. So I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk. I think that everything in between Nigeria, between the goalkeeper and that top striker, is not at the level and the standard of the Canadian team. But again, it's a matter of manufacturing opportunities and manufacturing goals. And we're looking to a almost 40-year-old striker, Christine St. Clair, who definitely has the ability. But the secondary scoring is going to be an important issue for Canada. Is Hoytman, especially with Becky not there, injured. Fleming, who has the ability to score goals from the midfield and find penetrating options from the midfield, isn't at 100%. So those are the questions that I see, is that is Christine St. Clair going to be able to find goals? And we've questioned that many years before, and she always has. And is Hoytman Jordan going to be that secondary scorer, or find those abilities to score goals now that she's getting a little more playing time, a little more reps in the NWSL?
All right, Carm, what's your prediction? You babbled, but you didn't give a score.
1-0 Canada.
All right, go ahead, Anna.
Yeah, I mean, speaking from experience, it's definitely not going to be an easy game. Just the U20 at the U20 World Cup, Nigeria was in our group as well, and we lost 3-1. I mean, given that was our last game of the group stage and we were already not advancing to the playoffs, but still, I mean, it proves their youth system is strong. So, they have people coming up to their full team system, and I think it's going to be a tough game mentally, physically, and it's going to be a test to see how the nerves play out of the first game of the tournament as well go. So I think it's going to be an interesting game. And again, hopefully I think they're going to come out with the win. I'm thinking maybe a 2-1 final score.
All right, and before we close it out, tomorrow, 1 a.m. and 3:30, Carm, you'll be back for the soccer show, but 1 a.m., I think you're snoring. Philippines and Switzerland, who do you got in that one?
You know what? I'm just looking forward to that U.S. Vietnam if the U.S. are going to celebrate a 55th goal. I think the Swiss, again, they have their own pro league, and they have their neighbors playing at a higher level in the German league as well. That's there are a lot of players playing in that German league that are very good. So yeah, I think that's going to be again a lopsided score. Amazing that the Philippines got through, and Vietnam, and teams that a lot of these powerhouses haven't seen in a while. So should be an interesting experience for them. But let's see what happens. Let's see what happens.
The more important game, Carm, the more important game at 3:30. I'm up. I'm gonna make it a point that I'm gonna call you at 3 a.m. You get the espresso coffee and do your hair. By the time you need a haircut, man, look at this guy. On national, what kind of coach? Like, oh my gosh, don't get me started with this. But 3:30 a.m. Spain. And do I even have to say who they're playing or whatever? Because it's Spain going to beat Costa Rica, and they're going to win 4-0. What do you say, Carm?
Well, Anna has the experience of playing against the Costa Ricans and the Nigerians.
All right, go ahead, Anna.
And the Spanish.
On what the strengths and their weaknesses are. As you played the Nigerian, it was probably a very athletic team, maybe not as organized as they should be. But I think that culture change in the women's game is all, and the kind of relevance of the game, of the women's game in Africa and CONCACAF region is not going to make it so easy for the Spanish to beat the Costa Ricans. But I think that Costa Rica's in tough, and they're going through a little bit of a internal revolution in their team as well.
All right, so we lost the sound. We can't hear you. Thank God we can't hear him, because he was going to say, I agree with you, Joe. I would up it 5-0. But go ahead, Anna. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've played Costa Rica and Spain as well in the youth system. Costa Rica is definitely a team that likes to frustrate their opponent. They like to drag on time as long as possible, and they definitely play off defensively. So I think, Spanish football is very pretty football, but I think that they're going to have to break down the strong Costa Rican defense, as well as keep their mind clear from the time wasting and diving and all that stuff for them to be able to pull through with the win. But I also agree that, they're a very strong side. So I do think they're still going to be able to come through with that win. 4-0, 3-0, maybe around then. I agree.
See, very good. No wonder I'm going to offer you come back here. But Carm touched on an all-Canadian ladies soccer league, okay, with all the stuff that's happening or whatever. Long overdue. Okay, long overdue. What do you think of the all-Canadian ladies soccer league?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely in the talks. And first off, I just want to acknowledge that it's kind of upsetting that the men got a league before the women did, considering how much stronger the women's side is here in Canada and how they've proven that they definitely deserve a league. But yeah, I mean, even just based on experience of playing other North American teams like the US and Mexico, we lose to them almost every single time. And I think that comes from them having a strong professional league on the women's side. And I mean, it is in the talks. There are a couple of teams and programs that are trying to pull it through, maybe around 2025, 2026, but at the end of the day, how feasible that is right now, I'm not too sure, but it's definitely much needed to keep strengthening our women's program for sure.
All right, so we're going to do hopefully daily Women's World Cup update. Carmen, if you're going to be up at 1, 2, 3, 7 in the morning, we're going to do daily updates. I'll try to bring Giancarlo and John Nelson.
I've kind of passed the baton on to Anna.
No. You don't.
I did
First of
not
all,
agree to that.
Anna, you're more than welcome anytime, but after 12 p.m. All right. I know you train, you say your prayers, eat your vitamins. You got to deal with this guy, and that's a lot,
we
man.
have practice tonight at 8:00. Carm, you better let us out on time to watch the match tonight.
All right. See, and why don't Carm? Here's a thought. Why doesn't the team have a team bonding thing and watch the game together? No, I will tell you, and he's going to say no because it's Friday night. He's got to be home with the family. He's got to address with his wife, his kids, and everything like that. Am I right, Carm, or not?
That's a great idea. It's on the Fired Up Network credit card. So
yes, it is that John Freeman Nelson is paying because he's U.S. It's cheaper for him. All right, but you're Anna. Honestly, you're welcome back here anytime.
We'll go to a local watering hole and watch the game. That's a great idea.
See, by the way, Carm, do I get invited also, or what? Since I came up with the idea.
If you're coming by York University tonight, yes.
All right, Giancarlo will drive me there. All right. So Anna, by the way, you're invited here anytime and all that.
Thank you.
I gotta ask you this: dealing with Carmen Asako as a coach, look at him laughing already. Can you give some insight to the millions and millions of fans listening and watching this right now? How is he to deal with as the coach? I mentioned he's a Hall of Fame coach, but honestly, take us through. Does he ever get mad? Come on, does he ever get mad?
He definitely gets mad, but I don't think it's a bad thing. I think his coaching style is definitely more old school, which I think we need more of, for sure.
All right. And does he need a haircut?
No comment.
No. All right, Anna, you start us off. Tell everybody how they get a hold of you social media wise.
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram, just first name and last name. Twitter as well, first name, last name. Yeah.
All right. And by the way, if you want to get a hold of Carmen Asako, don't. He doesn't respond to anything.
I'm a grumpy old man. Nobody call me, please. I got enough headaches dealing with this group.
All right. And Carm will be back tomorrow with the world famous soccer show with John Freeman Nelson, Giancarlo Lino, and maybe, just maybe, Anna, if she survives training and the watering hole. All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Stay tuned for more great programming here on the Fired Up Network. Thanks.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to ITG Daily, the show that brings you the hottest in gaming news. I'm Drew Bosley, that's Scott Savage, and you can join us at InsideTheGame.ca, YouTube at Inside the Game Official, and of course those podcast services thanks to our friends at FiredUp Network and all those beautiful TV streaming networks around the globe. I'm talking about Amazon Prime, Roku, Samsung Plus, Jinx, Esports TV Canada, and a whole lot more. Scott, we talk about a lot on today's show. What do we have?
That's right, we do. We have Metroid Prime 2 Remaster, hopefully in the future, Amazon's new King Kong game, Activision Esports have been hit with layoffs, The Walking Dead Betrayal, that's something to be interested about,
Yeah.
and Overwatch 2 heads to Steam. Firewall Ultra has a release date.
Nice. There's a lot happening on today's show, so let's dive in. Scott, we got a hot one for Nintendo fans. Jeff Grubb, that's right, one of the best insider leakers around, says Metroid Prime 2 Remastered is coming relatively soonish. And something Zelda series related this year as well. This was over at My Nintendo News. Journalist and insider Jeff Grubb has said in a new video that Metroid Prime 2 Remastered will be arriving relatively soonish, which is fantastic news to hear, as Metroid Prime Remastered was excellent. Scott, you can vouch for that.
Oh, that is certain. Yeah, I think that was almost a 9 for me. Just about as good as I remember it.
Fantastic. He also said that something The Legend of Zelda related is also happening later this year, though he says it is not related to the critically acclaimed The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. But what this announcement will be is anyone's guess, but it seems it won't be downloadable content for Tears of the Kingdom, which is to be a bit of a surprise, Scott. I kind of thought we'd see more for it. Or you think people are just still too involved in that game to get something just yet?
I think there's still hours and hours, hundreds of hours to extract from that game for the majority of people. So I don't think you're going to come to the end of it very soon. But I'm also trying to think back, and I'm not sure there's ever been Zelda DLC. In the case of Breath of the Wild, there was amiibos you could add, and that would trigger certain events, but it was not exactly DLC.
Yeah, there's a little bits of this, that, and the other, but there wasn't... Here's the Kingdom I feel like they could build upon and give us something, but if you wanted to get... Like, are we getting something else related then when it comes to a Zelda remaster, Scott?
There's not too many things left to remaster. On the Switch, that is. Ocarina of Time does come to mind, though.
Well, there's one, right? Yeah, absolutely. I don't know, we've had a couple remasters. Some have worked, some have not worked so much for me. I've tried, man. I tried. Just didn't really
Skyward
click.
Sword didn't really hit you.
Not at all. I tried, dude. I really tried. I just couldn't get into it whatsoever, unfortunately. But I'm still plugging away at Tears of the Kingdom because, like you said, right, there's so much content in there. I'm still working away on that one, so maybe that's one of the reasons why we're not getting DLC just yet. But when it comes to Metroid Prime 2 Remastered, probably is coming out relatively soonish. That is happening. That probably is happening relatively soonish. This next phrase, I'm afraid to say, so I might not actually say it. Listen, I don't know what it means. I'm going to tell you what they told me. And if you take this and you spin it into something else, everybody, it's on you. There's Jeff Grubb. Well, I was just saying. So here it is, right?
Direct quote. You can tell the guy, he's bustling to let it out.
Well, yeah, he's there, but he's like, if this doesn't happen, don't blame me, right? Like, he's just saying what he's been told. So I get it. Jeff's kind of covering himself, which is cool. But are you really that surprised if we get a remastered 2 with Metroid Prime 2?
Slightly, but also slightly not, because I'm not sure if I remember Metroid Prime 2 just breaking records, selling crazy well back in the day. The third one perhaps sold better, so I'd expect that maybe. But if you're doing all of them remastered, it makes sense to go chronologically. And this game was excellent, but I did not finish number 2, so I'm super into this one if it launches.
Well, if it launches, here's your chance to get it, right? So we'll see what happens, dude. But it's just, for me, I'm not a Metroid person at all. I'm barely a Zelda person. But here we are, Breath of the Wild, I really enjoyed, and Tears of the Kingdom, I'm still playing. So it's one of those, the new formula for Zelda has hooked me, and that's kind of what's keeping me forward. But maybe it's time that I check out Metroid Prime. There's that one. We got 4 is coming too. So are they building the remastered library before 4 launches? Or are we going to get 4 amongst the midst of all these remasters?
I am very positive, very hopeful that 4 is coming, and this is indication of that. But it is Nintendo, however. It might be another decade away.
Well, is 4 coming on the next Switch? It has to be, right?
That's what I'm hoping for. But if development has already started, does that indicate Switch 2 coming soon? It's, again, a lot of moving pieces with Nintendo.
Yeah, absolutely. You're just never quite sure with Nintendo. Scott, the leaks just keep coming. A new King Kong game has been leaked by Amazon. This is Tom Ivan over at BGC. Amazon has seemingly leaked a new King Kong game ahead of its official announcement. Titled Skull Island Rise of Kong, the third-person action-adventure game is headed to Nintendo Switch, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S. According to the product listing on Amazon's Spanish website, the listing was spotted by Gamitsu, also carrying presumably a placeholder release date of December 31st, 2024, which is just saying it's coming out sometime next year. But what we're doing is we're conquering waves of primal beasts and defeat your archenemy minions to become the rightful king of Skull Island. Scott, it's been a while since we saw King Kong really have his own spotlight for a game. All the way back to 2005. He did make his way into Warzone with his own event, but besides that, being in Call of Duty, dude, it's been a while since we saw the King Kong, the Peter Jackson King Kong game all the way back in 2005.
It's been so long, but Conquer Waves of Primal Beast, that gives me flashbacks to the other night when we were playing Exo Primal.
Yeah, it sure does.
Understandably, we're not going to have guns being King Kong, so it's going to be different than that. But it does seem to also be a lot different than the King Kong that we know from 2005.
Yeah, I'm definitely curious to see what storyline we're going to be following here. And if you take a look at the art style, the leaked images, now they are rough, but someone's just basically taken like a picture with their phone and then posted it. So it's been a weird whatever, but it's got a unique art style, which seems a little bit more cartoony than the 2005 release, Scott. That's the other worrisome issue for me.
2005 was out on GameCube where I played that, so that's an interesting indication of where the game's at.
Yeah, but they've gone for this more, it looks like a lighthearted approach when it comes to King Kong, so I wonder what audience they're kind of really gearing towards. But when you're a King Kong fan and then you get into like Warzone and their own event over there with that one, you kind of question what's going on here in this unique art style. I've seen some fans react already going, I don't know if I want this one. Like, this doesn't really look to be my style. But time will tell. It's been a leak, right? No official announcement on the trailer, or no trailer at all. It's just leaked images. So when we do get hands-on, we will give you that impression of the trailer and take a look and see if it's really going to pull us in. Scott, are you worried at all?
Well, I'm thinking maybe the images that we've seen, which I'm not actually familiar with, I don't know if that's maybe because of the Nintendo Switch to kind of have a more agreeable style behind it. It was something more possible to run on the Switch. But that said, we might get a different example on the new consoles, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series. There may be HD updates, that sort of thing. That remains to be seen.
Absolutely. It was just a leak, so there's a lot more to find out yet, but fingers crossed, time will tell. So we talked about Overwatch quite some time now on this over the last, I feel like 2-3 weeks, obviously with a lot what's going on with the Activision Blizzard, Microsoft deal, acquisition, FTC, CMA, all that kind of stuff. But we got a different take on it today as Activision Blizzard Esports hit with layoffs as Overwatch League's future remains undecided. This is Wesley LeBlanc over at Game Informer. Activision Blizzard has laid off around 50 employees according to a new report from The Verge. This news arrives the same day Activision Blizzard released its fiscal year 2023 Q2 results, which highlights a murky future for the company's esports efforts despite the otherwise financially successful quarter for the Overwatch 2 maker. Activision Blizzard's results show that the net bookings grew 50% year over year in the second quarter from $1.64 billion to $2.46 billion due to the lucrative Diablo 4 launch. I'm pretty sure that was a big help. Yeah. Increase in revenue from various franchises, mobile growth, and more. But despite that growth, the company laid off around 50 employees due to Blizzard's esports department, The Verge reports. One person laid off told the publication that this round of layoffs, quotes, seems like a significant gutting of Activision Blizzard esports, end quote. While another told it, quote, there was no warning. This was a complete shock to everyone, and none of us who were laid off were offered an opportunity to switch roles or teams. End quote. Scott.
Ouch.
This isn't cool. This came out of nowhere for what seems to be the 50 people, which is not cool, right? We hope everybody's going to be able to land back on their feet and take care and get something out of this and turn things around. But at the same time, dude, we've been talking about Overwatch seen a bit of a decline as of recently as well, right? The player base isn't really doing all that well. A lot of questions, a lot of murky waters when it comes to Overwatch 2 as a sequel coming from Overwatch 1, which seemed to be such a success. And then when we get into 2, we only get what felt like is really 1.5.
Yeah, and the whole thing was justified over that offline PvE campaign that just really didn't come to fruition as it was supposed to.
No, absolutely, right? We were promised this story mode and all this stuff, and then they went back and, well, we're going to give you the story, but we're going to make it more events, and then we're going to do this, that, and the other, and then just the whole model changed as it started to hit release, which kind of reminded me of Halo Infinite as well, right? And we saw the struggles with Halo, which continue to this day, and I feel like Overwatch is kind of just following the same path.
It's rocky.
Which is unfortunate, right? But as previously disclosed, our collaborative agreements for our professional esports leagues continue to face headwinds. During the second quarter, we amend certain terms of our collaborative arrangements with teams entities participating in the Overwatch League. According to the amend terms, following the conclusion of the current Overwatch League season, the teams will vote on an updated operating agreement. If the teams do not vote to continue under an updated operating agreement, the termination fee of $6 million. Dude, that's will be payable to each participating team entry. Total fee of approximately $114 million. As of June 30th, 2023, the termination liability has been accrued. Total revenues from the Overwatch League comprises less than 1% of the consolidation net revenues. Scott, I think this could be the demise of the Overwatch Esports League.
Yeah, it kind of seems like that really could be the situation here. From what I kind of gather from this, there's been a change in the contract, and if you don't accept, well, they will terminate the contract, but they have to pay you out to do that. So it's a huge amount of money. $6 million to each team. That's no small amount.
Not at all. It's a bit of a shock too, right? Like
there's more than just the 5 players that play the game as the team too. There's a lot more people, and it's not quite the same as giving one person $1 million each.
No, it's not how that works. That's for sure.
No,
but it just I'm shocked to see the decline of Overwatch hit so hard and so quickly out of nowhere. But yet again, right? We talked about Overwatch 2. They have new events coming. They have more story stuff coming, more content. Another season is on the way. So is that enough to get the players going? But it's not enough for the league in itself, right? It's the esports league that is now starting to suffer. And I'm just kind of disappointed to see it go away. I was never really invested in it though on my side. I do know a lot of people who were invested and loved watching it. Man, if you watch the pros play, there's a lot going on. It is chaotic to watch. And I think it was a bit of a hard learning curve for some people to get in there that want to get in, but haven't really been able to follow along. It's one thing to play it and you're just goofing around with your friends, but it's another thing to watch the pros. Dude, they're flicking their mouses all, like, it's so fast.
They move like conductors.
Yeah. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens here. Activision Blizzard do have opportunities to kind of turn things around, but sometimes it just doesn't seem to be the way. Scott, we received a cool press release just yesterday on The Walking Dead Betrayal, a Project Winter game. You may have heard of this team, the Other Ocean Interactive, because they brought us Project Winter, which was a very cool game. It was over on Steam for a while, then brought over to the world of consoles, which is nice to see as well. But here we have some more. Betray your friends in this 5 to 8 person game of cooperation and social deception, set in the universe of The Walking Dead. Dude, I'm a huge fan. I love the Walking Dead games. I played a ton of them, and to have this little spin-off with the touch of a Project Winter game, like the Project Winter, I thought had a cool art style, and it has that and carries it over here to the Walking Dead Betrayal. And I was like, yo, what is this? But you can work together to survive, but trust no one. Traitors have so many ways to sabotage the team. The walkers are the most predictable threat. The game will be $19.99. This is going to be US. It'll be currently going for PC. Dude, we have more news. Because you can craft weapons and cook food to manage your hunger, of course. Betrayal and deception is the name of the game, as traitors will have plenty of options and opportunities to betray their friends, poison food or items. You can even wear a walker skin to blend in. Dude, I thought that was cool. Yeah. Lure a horde of walkers with a skateboard, set traps, and just straight up murder your friends. That's like, dude, I'm so in on this. Yeah. But here's the cool part. When you die, the game's not over. Because you can get in as a walker, and then you can lure in hordes of walkers as one of them, and then swap between them, and then go for the person that took you out. I'm like, that is cool. So I'm very excited. You can wishlist this right now on Steam. It's going to have a beta access coming out on August 10th, and it's coming to Steam Early Access this year. So I thought it was very cool. Wanted to be something we want to touch on here, but we also have a quote, Scott, because we're not done yet. Quote, "We're tremendously excited to unveil the latest The Walking Dead experience that fully immerses players with a fresh and unique take on social deception gameplay," end quote. Said none other than Robert Kirkman himself, the chief creative director of Skybound Entertainment and the creator of The Walking Dead. Quote, "Partnering with the Other Ocean Interactive, true innovators in this game genre, will allow players to experience hordes of deceit and distrust as they struggle to work together to survive and escape," end quote. Dude, I'm down. That's why I said it has that Project Winter art style, which I thought was super cool. It's a third-person perspective game, and then we're getting in here. We've seen the social deceit play style for quite some time now. Some have stuck around, some have not. And it seems like Project Winter has been able to kind of keep things around. But I think now going with The Walking Dead, and I think having that name in there as well, probably might help a little bit, right? Because just kind of goes a little bit step further. What do you think?
Oh, I think that's a great selling point of it. And looking at the game, the kind of top-down, almost top-down camera, it kind of reminds me of Dismantle, and that's a very, very good association there. Dismantle, but with a little bit of social deception. This could be a real match.
Dude, absolutely. The team, like, we need to get in on this. I can hang out here for hours and play this. I think this would be a ton of fun. Let us know your thoughts over on Twitter at the official ITG. Are you looking forward to the Walking Dead betrayal? Scott, we've got more news for Overwatch 2 as it heads to Steam next month, which is pretty cool. This is Marcus Stewart over at Game Informer. Overwatch 2 is making a big jump over to Steam on August 10th, Blizzard has announced. Furthermore, it will be followed by a selection of Blizzard games migrating to the storefront for the first time. In a blog post, Blizzard explains it wants to expand its reach to players beyond its PC launcher. Scott, they're getting into the Sony territory here. We're like, hey, there's a whole audience over here that we're not captivating that we should probably be a part of, right?
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, being Blizzard on the PC storefront as well. Getting on Steam makes a whole lot of sense.
Absolutely. It believes that the free-to-play Overwatch 2 is the best game to kick off this major shift in the PC release strategy. There's currently no word on what other Blizzard games are coming to Steam, but the publisher says it will announce them when the time is right. Battle.net is a home for all our PC players, and over the years, we've evolved our platform to support updated technologies, capabilities, and our community's expectations. But as we've evolved, the industry has evolved too. Gaming is no longer just for specific communities, as it was when Battle.net launched over 2 decades ago, Scott. It's been around, right? Yeah. I just recently got into a couple of things. I'm like, man, I don't know what my Battle.net password is. I got to find this thing. Like, good luck to that. So, but I think it makes a ton of sense coming over to Steam. It is one of the biggest install bases when it comes to PC. Why would you want to capitalize on that, right? And here they are. And at this point, right, we also talked about how much trouble Overwatch 2 is in right now. Yeah. And with the new season coming around, this not only allows them to get in there with their free-to-play title now, which is something that Overwatch 1 wasn't. So now with a free-to-play option, you get in there, you have a good time, then you start buying into the game as well with the new season, new story points, right, and all these other events. Could this save Overwatch 2, Scott? Do you think this is what they're banking on?
I'm very skeptical, but I hopeful at the same time. I'm hoping this will be the shot in the arm that kind of brings Overwatch back to somewhere healthy, but there is also a kind of secondary. If we're bringing Blizzard games to Steam, I think that's an interesting idea.
Yep.
Whether Overwatch lives or dies is a kind of an issue on its own. But Can we finally get Warcraft 2 on Steam? Can I please get Warcraft 2 again? My brother and I have been playing 20 years old Command & Conquer games. I would love to play Warcraft 2.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you've been there a long time playing that one. Dude, Command & Conquer. Will we ever see that one return? I don't think so.
Red Alert 2 is still as good as it'll ever be. Yeah, no, we won't. They won't do it again.
No, probably not. But here's the other side of it too. Diablo 4. Where does that lie in the future, right? Opportunities, man.
And they're going to have to integrate all of this cross-play, cross-plat that is, because how do you populate an Overwatch lobby if there's... Well, Steam will have a lot of people jumping on, but smaller community at first.
Yeah, I'm definitely curious to see the rise in stats for Overwatch 2, if this is enough that's going to kind of bring this game back to life. We've been in Overwatch over on Xbox, Overwatch 2, but they've quickly fallen off over the time. So with this new update, Scott, are you going to jump in and you can check it out, or are you just done with Overwatch 2 for now?
For now, I'm going to have to sit it out. I want to see Overwatch have a lot of updates before I'm really interested again.
That's fair. Scott, something I'm excited for is PSVR 2 action. We're talking about Firewall Ultra has a release date set for August 24th. Michael Herodance over at PSU First Contact Entertainment has taken to the PlayStation blog to announce that Firewall Ultra will launch for PSVR 2 on August 24th, 2023. The sequel to the 2018's PSVR shooter, Firewall Ultra, brings with a new enhancements including eye tracking, which is going to be a game changer, Scott. I'm telling you right now, that's going to be cool. Which allows you to avoid the blinding light of a flashlight by closing your eyes or closing your non-dominant eye to aim down the sights of your weapon. Dude, I can't wait to jump in and see what enhancements. I played the first one. and it was cool. I even bought the gun that goes with it, so you stick all your move controllers in it. You click them in, and then you hold it like this, and you're going around. Oh man, it was cool.
That's one of the coolest uses of the PlayStation Move controller I've heard so far.
Absolutely was. It was a bit of a game changer. Motion sickness though got me, so I'm hoping that I don't get it here with the PSVR 2, because it has changed a lot of that feeling for me getting into this one. And now we get the next sequel to Firewall, and I'm super excited. But yeah, look for that August 24th. Super cool. Scott, the show isn't done until, well, we talk about what games are out today. What do we have?
That's right, we have Punch Club 2 Fast Forward, and that's on the PlayStations, the Xboxes, Nintendo Switch, and PC. Might and Magic Clash of Heroes, the Definitive Edition, comes to PlayStation 4, the Nintendo Switch, and PC. Sea of Thieves, The Legend of Monkey Island update is now live on Xbox and PC, and I think you're excited about that one.
I'm very excited for that one. I can't wait to jump in, yeah.
I think that's going to take the rest of today.
Yep.
A ship with just a splash of je ne sais quoi.
The Legend of Monkey Island? You mean Governor Guybrush. But Threepwood's not set foot out of that mansion for almost a year.
We also have The Wandering Village now on Xbox, and Kill Squad is now on PlayStation.
Cool. Don't miss The Wandering Village. That one looks pretty cool too. I'm excited to get in on that one. Very cool games to play. We got a lot going on today. Well, that'll wrap up today's episode, everybody. Thank you for hanging out with us. As always, this has been ITG Daily, the show that brings you the hottest in gaming news. We'll be back again tomorrow. I'm Drew. That's Scott.
And we'll see you inside the game.
Hey everybody, this is Joseph Pasek, and welcome to the Fired Up Network. Welcome to the flagship show of the Fired Up Network, Fired Up Live, and welcome to the On The Mat Wrestling Show, as Ring of Honor will present a pay-per-view tomorrow, 8 p.m. It will be Death Before Dishonor. Yes, Death Before Dishonor. And we go with the card here. Lucha Brothers versus Ozzy Osbourne versus The Kingdom versus Best Friends for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championship. Well, Lucha Brothers had it before. Best Friends, The Kingdom, Ozzy Open. I think we will have a tag team title change. And let's go with Ozzy Open to win this one. Ring of Honor Ladies title, Athena versus Willow Nightingale. Willow Nightingale, of course, beat Mercedes Martinez and now lost the title, but captured the Owen Hart Trophy. Athena has come in as a champion, and she did not want to face Willow Nightingale, but Tony Khan made this bout. It's their third bout, 1-1 tie. Athena has been really good, and so has Willow Nightingale. I expect a good match in this one. And for me, it's a toss-up in this one. It's really a toss-up. Now, for the Ring of Honor Pure Championship, Danny Garcia versus Shabarka. And Shabarka, basically, I believe he's going to win. Danny Garcia is going to put on a great match, but I think he will win. Then it is Samoa Joe defending the Ring of Honor World Television Championship. This should be another good match. Samoa has been really good here, and I believe he'll retain the titles. And because of Blood and Guts on Wednesday at AEW Dynamite, where Pac, the bastard Pac, sort of left the Blackpool Combat Club, and Claudio Castagnoli and him had a mini brawl. They made Pac versus Claudio Castagnoli in this one. Of course, he was supposed to take on Briscoe, but Briscoe got injured. So for the Ring Championship, Claudio Castagnoli will defend against the bastard Pac. I think this will be a good match, but I don't Pac will win the title, so I'm going to go with Claudio Castagnoli. rally in this run. Don't forget, of Honor's Death Before Dishonor happens Friday at 8